Have you ever been curious about what it's like to be on the other side? The place where we go after our life has ended. Well, it's a mystery that only the dead really know. This next story shares a similar theme. Special thanks to Reddit user HolyBanana666 for granting me permission to use their story. Now then, as usual, do enjoy the show. I'm not sure whether people would be able to read this story or not, but I'll anyways give it a shot. No sleep was how I got introduced to Reddit, and I always wanted to post a story of my own, but I never experienced anything out of the world until 12 hours ago, and I'm happy to post it. So let's start off with my introduction. I grew up in a small town with my mom, who worked as a nurse in a nearby hospital. I was always interested in knowing more about the other world, and I'm sure I inherited this from my mother, who did fortune telling as a side hustle. It's easy money when you realize that people have a tendency to fall for anything in times of utter loss. I used to watch my mom making contact with the other world, seeing her eyes roll back and became satin white when she tried to contact with the other world, trying to help the client. I knew it was fake. I knew my mom used to just play a word game, but still, there was something in my mind which made me wonder, what if it's real? What if there is some other world? In my teenage years, I became obsessed with all things horror, reading books, journals, movies, documentaries, and the like. I started my own YouTube channel where me and my buddy Gage went to nearby places in town that were claimed to be haunted. Our channel took off and we spent the money on buying equipment to hunt the supernatural. Our channel started getting more attention, but I'll confess that we tampered with our videos to get the attention. Reason? Because our hunt for the unnatural was fruitless. Some people believed what we showed, some not. Maybe I was just part of the former from the start. Maybe it's all fake. But I treated it as conjecture and wanted to prove it false or otherwise, so my hunt continued. Fast forward to 20, and I was still living with my mom. I went to a nearby community college majoring in psychology, and I met a few people who had stepped into the territory of parapsychology as a hobby. I met people who had experienced stuff. But let me tell you how low-res pictures of apparent apparitions do not count. I can imagine ghosts doing a lot of things, but photobombing is definitely not their expertise. Anyways, the question always had a firm place in my subconscious. Fast forward 8 years and I was doing PhD in psychology. I met Anna as another PhD student. We became friends, dated for 2 years, married and had a wonderful daughter whom we named Ellen. I was 32 when we got our own home and I had to leave my mom. The house we bought was at a walking distance from my mother's house. Ellen had become too close to her grandma, and I promised her to leave her at my mom's every weekend. She unsurprisingly agreed and we started shifting the stuff. At this phase in my life, my obsession was becoming an addiction, and I just couldn't ignore it. It was like a corrupt seed which was spreading its roots in my brain. It had been 3 months in the house since we shifted and I felt happy. Partly because we had settled and were having a wonderful time, but partly because of the grim history of the house we were living in. The house was built in the 1600s and was owned by Daria Black. For the people who don't know about her, she was accused of witchcraft during the Salem witch trials and was burned in her own house. Her crime was performing rituals to worship the pagan god of death, Arshimak. Since then, the people had created all sorts of stories about the house. Even I sensed something was not right. Anna didn't like this. She wanted me to stay normal, and she believed it was perfectly fine in the house. But I didn't. My soul, my mind, my body just couldn't accept it. I moved on in the life suppressing my itch. You can ignore a thought, suppress a thought, but you cannot kill a thought. Ellen was 6. I became depressed, feeling that my whole life had been a lie. I was losing Anna, and I knew it. No sane person would want to handle a person like me. So everything just came out 2 days back. We had an argument and I was intoxicated. I don't know what happened afterwards, but I woke up with a note in my study. I'll be at your mom's with Ellen. We'll see you in the evening when you're sober. Anna. I spent that day watching TV and finishing up some college work. It was 8 when I thought it's too late that Anne and Ellen hadn't returned. I called her, but heard the bell up in my room. She had forgotten the phone. I thought of calling my mom, but she won't pick up either. I was honestly worried, so I visited my mom to check if she was fine, but the home was locked. I guess my mom was at one of her church gatherings, and I also knew Anna cannot be with her because she hated going to these gatherings. So I came back and tried to look for any information in Anna's phone. I tried to call one of her friends. One of her friends picked up the phone, but she couldn't hear me. I tried again, but it didn't work. This was when I noticed something was odd. Something was not right. I could smell something nasty. It was coming from upstairs. I started to walk in the direction of the presumed source. It became stronger as I took each step on the stairs. It was coming from my room, from the closet. I got familiar with the smell. It was the smell of rotting life. I knew what was coming, but I just wanted to see through my eyes. I opened the closet to find her and my daughter in eternal sleep. I became numb and fell on the ground from shock. And that was when I caught a glimpse of something. Another body in the washroom, whose door was open just enough for another pair of legs to be visible. I entered the room, and a wave of goosebumps ran through my body which calmed my itch, but also flooded me with feeling of profound sorrow and regret. My frustration and need for an answer had manifested itself into something which I had no control over. And there I was, with a gun in my hand and a bullet in my head. Everything made sense now. I'm still alive. I exist, but somewhere which seems to be the other world. The surprising thing about this world is there seems to be no one around. Anyways, I shared what I had to share. I just hope I can communicate with people for them to know that I still exist, which means the other world exists too. Now, I gotta go find my family.